What if the reason healthy love feels boring isn't that it's weak, but that your nervous system is addicted to drama? For years, you may have unconsciously sought intensity, chaos, and emotional spikes. And now, when love is calm, consistent, and kind, it feels unfamiliar, uncomfortable, even boring. If this feels uncomfortable to hear, that's exactly why you need to watch this video. Most people enter relationships looking for fireworks. They want passion, intensity, excitement, the kind of feelings that make the heart race and the mind dizzy. And when a new connection starts calmly, steadily, even quietly, it can feel disappointing. You might recognize this pattern. You meet someone kind, patient, emotionally available, and yet your heart hesitates. You catch yourself thinking, is this really love? Or worse, you wonder if something is wrong with the other person, or with you. What if I told you that this feeling is exactly why healthy love is often overlooked at first? That what you're experiencing is not a lack of chemistry, but a signal of a deep psychological truth? Carl Jung believed that the psyche seeks resonance. It craves connection, yes, but it also seeks the familiar. This means that the people we are initially drawn to are often people who reflect unresolved aspects of ourselves, our shadow, our childhood patterns, our inner conflicts. In other words, if you've spent years unconsciously drawn to intensity, drama, or emotional chaos, your nervous system may perceive calm, steady love as underwhelming. Not because it isn't real, but because it doesn't match your learned internal template. You might recognize this pattern if you've experienced relationships where passion flares, conflicts are frequent, and every high feels followed by a low. It's addictive. It feels alive. It confirms a familiar emotional rhythm. But there's a cost. This cycle is exhausting. It keeps you on edge. It conditions you to confuse instability with connection. And when a truly healthy partner enters your life, you may feel bored. If this sounds familiar, it's not because you are ungrateful or incapable of deep love. It's because your unconscious mind is alerting you. It is saying, this feels safe. This feels unfamiliar. This is different from what you know. Jung called this the process of individuation. It is the journey of bringing the unconscious into consciousness, of integrating shadow parts, and of learning to recognize patterns that no longer serve you. When it comes to love, individuation can feel uncomfortable. Because healthy love often doesn't start with fireworks. It starts quietly. It starts with subtle acts of respect, patience, emotional availability. It starts with consistency, reliability, and the absence of chaos. And our unconscious minds, trained on patterns of drama, conflict, and intensity, often mislabel this as boring. Louise Hay would add another perspective. She taught that love is a mirror for self-worth. If we unconsciously believe that we are unworthy, we are drawn to relationships that confirm that belief. This is why patterns of turbulence feel familiar. They signal that we are safe in a way that the nervous system understands, even if it's painful. You might notice this if you tend to leave calm, healthy relationships prematurely. Or if your attention drifts to someone more dramatic, even when the boring person treats you with genuine care. It's not a flaw. It's a signal. A sign that your internal patterns need recognition. Another layer involves projection. Jung believed that we often project unmet needs, desires, or unresolved feelings onto our partners. If you've spent years seeking validation, excitement, or intensity, your psyche may project those needs onto someone who is emotionally unavailable or unstable. This creates an illusion of passion. Healthy love, on the other hand, doesn't feed these projections. It offers reality. It reflects who someone truly is, not who you want them to be, not the excitement your shadow craves. You might recognize this if you feel restless in calm relationships, or if the absence of drama feels untested. This restlessness is not resistance. It's awareness, your system recognizing that what it is experiencing is unfamiliar. Let's use a real-life example. Imagine someone named Sarah. Throughout her 20s, Sarah was drawn to intense partners, unpredictable, emotionally turbulent, exciting. She felt alive in those relationships, but drained afterward. When she met James, a man who was consistently kind, supportive, and attentive, she initially dismissed him. She told herself, he's too safe. Too predictable. Where's the passion? This is a common story. Sarah's unconscious associated love with intensity, chaos, and uncertainty. Her nervous system interpreted calm, healthy love as boring. It felt unfamiliar, and the familiar pattern of intensity pulled her attention away. Over time, however, Sarah noticed subtle truths. James's calm presence made her feel stable. She began to trust that love could be sustaining without drama. She realized that intensity had been a form of validation, a mirror of her shadow, not true love. This is the paradox of healthy love. It often feels boring at first because it bypasses the patterns our unconscious has trained us to expect. You might recognize this pattern if you've ever caught yourself saying, "I love them, but something feels missing." Or if you've noticed that love which is quiet and consistent feels less exciting than a relationship full of highs and lows. The key is awareness. When you recognize that your perception of boring is tied to unconscious patterns, the experience transforms. You start seeing calm, steady love as safe, nourishing, and ultimately more fulfilling than drama ever was. This requires patience. It requires observation. It requires reflecting on your patterns, asking yourself, which relationships did I repeatedly choose in the past? Which emotional dynamics felt familiar, even if they were painful? Which parts of my shadow were being mirrored in these relationships? Jung emphasized that love is a teacher. It reflects back the parts of ourselves we have not integrated. Healthy love challenges us not with chaos, but with stability. It asks us to show up fully, without projection. It asks us to trust our worth. Louise Hay would suggest pairing this awareness with affirmations, not as magic, but as emotional guidance. I am worthy of steady, consistent love. I am safe with calm, healthy relationships. I allow love to be nourishing and supportive. Over time, when these beliefs are consciously held, the perception of boring begins to shift. What once felt dull now feels like freedom. What once felt untested now feels safe. What once felt like absence now feels like trust. Another way to understand this is through attachment patterns. People with anxious or trauma-based attachment often equate love with intensity. Peace and consistency feel unfamiliar and, paradoxically, threatening. Our nervous system interprets calmness as lack, even when it is abundance. This explains why many people chase excitement instead of stability. And why they mistake drama for intimacy. You might recognize this if, in healthy relationships, you feel a nagging sense of boredom or restlessness. It is your nervous system adjusting. Your shadow patterns asserting their familiar rhythm. The shift happens when you consciously choose presence over projection. When you learn to experience someone as they are, without needing them to reflect your shadow. When you allow calm, steady love to feel nourishing instead of empty. Healthy love is not boring. It is unfamiliar. It is restorative. It allows growth, integration, and emotional maturity. It does not demand drama. It does not trigger old patterns. It is sustainable. And the more you practice noticing this, the more your unconscious recalibrates. You begin to attract partners who are capable of healthy intimacy. You begin to recognize that love does not need to shock, destabilize, or excite to be real. This is the deep psychological reason healthy love feels boring at first. It bypasses your old patterns, it challenges your nervous system, and it asks you to grow into a new way of relating. The people who stay, who are patient, who are consistent, are not boring. They are mirrors of maturity, stability, and integration. And once you see this clearly, the term boring loses its grip. You start appreciating subtle acts of love, steady support, consistent presence, gentle attention, authentic communication. These are the markers of relationships that last. And they are the foundation for true intimacy. So if you've ever felt that healthy love is boring, take a moment to reflect. It's not boring. It's unfamiliar. It's your chance to rewrite your internal patterns, integrate your shadow, and experience a love that is sustainable, nourishing, and real. Because love that doesn't set you on fire immediately is often the love that lights your life from within, quietly, steadily, and profoundly. Another reason healthy love can feel boring at first is that it requires a different kind of attention. Drama grabs the senses immediately. Chaos triggers adrenaline, excitement, fear, all intense, immediate emotions. Your nervous system is activated, even addicted, to the spikes. Healthy love, on the other hand, operates quietly. It asks you to notice subtleties. It asks you to recognize kindness, consistency, emotional intelligence. It asks you to tune in rather than react. You might recognize this if you find yourself feeling restless or distracted in a calm relationship. Scrolling on your phone while your partner talks. Seeking attention elsewhere. Doubting that what you feel is meaningful. Jung would describe this as the tension between the conscious mind and the unconscious expectations built from past experience. If your unconscious associates love with intensity, healthy connection initially feels inactive. Your psyche is comparing the new, unfamiliar safety with the old familiar turbulence. Louise Hay emphasized that emotional patterns are stored in the body. The nervous system reacts to familiar emotional rhythms long before the conscious mind understands them. This means that even if you intellectually know a partner is good for you, your body may feel uncertain or bored. Here's another way it manifests in real life. Imagine Alex, who has always been drawn to partners who are unpredictable. When Alex met Jordan, a partner who communicated openly and prioritized emotional safety, Alex initially felt frustrated. "No sparks," Alex complained. "I don't feel butterflies." What Alex didn't realize was that the calm love Jordan offered was a mirror to Alex's unintegrated shadow. The previous pattern of intensity had been thrilling because it matched unconscious beliefs about connection, that love must be hard, intense, and sometimes painful. Jordan's consistent presence didn't trigger that pattern. It felt unfamiliar, so Alex labeled it as boring. Many people experience the same pattern. You meet someone kind and available, but your mind searches for excitement elsewhere. You recognize stability but crave unpredictability. You dismiss calmness, longing for chaos. This is the shadow at work. Jung taught that the shadow contains the parts of ourselves we deny, reject, or have been taught to suppress. In love, the shadow often craves drama because unresolved patterns are familiar. Healthy love, free from drama, doesn't feed the shadow, so it can feel uncomfortable, even boring. Another element to consider is projection. In relationships, we often project expectations, fantasies, or unresolved needs onto partners. We may seek a partner who mirrors unresolved childhood patterns or validates our sense of self. When a partner does not mirror these unconscious expectations, their calmness can feel disappointing. You might notice this pattern if you often say, "They're perfect, but I'm not in love with them. I like them, but it doesn't feel exciting enough. I feel safe, but something is missing." These are signs that your unconscious is still evaluating the relationship against old emotional templates. Healthy love also asks us to confront our attachment style. People with anxious attachment are drawn to unpredictability because it stimulates emotional highs and lows. People with avoidant attachment often flee steady love because it demands vulnerability and consistency. In both cases, the calm love that offers stability triggers an inner conflict. It challenges habitual patterns. It requires learning new ways of relating and new ways of feeling safe. Here's another real-life example. Emily has a history of whirlwind romances. Every relationship involved emotional highs and lows. When she started dating Liam, who communicated consistently, Emily initially felt restless. She even questioned her own feelings. But over months, Emily began to notice small, consistent gestures. Liam remembered little details about her day, listened without judgment, and consistently supported her. These acts were not dramatic, but they built trust. They nurtured connection. And slowly, Emily's nervous system began to rewire. What once felt boring became comforting. What once felt slow became sustainable. This is why healthy love often takes time to feel exciting. It requires patience, awareness, and a willingness to notice subtle growth rather than immediate sparks. Another factor is that healthy love often reflects your inner state. If you are used to emotional turbulence, calm love initially feels unsatisfying because your inner world is still unsettled. You may feel anxious about missing out or not being in love enough. Your inner narrative is still tuned to intensity. Jung would say that love mirrors the psyche. Until the inner world stabilizes, outer calmness may feel strange. Louise Hay would remind you that loving and being loved starts with self-love. If we are critical, impatient, or dismissive of our own needs, it is difficult to fully appreciate a partner's consistency. The boring feeling is often an invitation to explore self-worth and emotional maturity. So, what can you do when healthy love feels boring at first? First, notice your patterns. Observe when you feel restless or dissatisfied. Second, question your unconscious beliefs. What does love mean to you unconsciously? Third, practice presence. Pay attention to subtle gestures, small acts of care, and consistency. Fourth, reflect on your shadow. Identify what parts of yourself crave drama, intensity, or chaos. Fifth, reframe calmness. Remind yourself that stability is a form of abundance. Over time, these practices shift perception. Healthy love no longer feels boring. It feels safe. It feels nourishing. It feels sustaining. And the people who enter your life in this way, patient, kind, emotionally available, are often the ones who allow you to integrate your shadow, heal old patterns, and experience intimacy that lasts. The paradox is clear: love that feels boring at first often becomes the most transformative. It challenges the familiar. It invites reflection. It teaches presence. And once you recognize this pattern, you begin to experience relationships in a completely new way. Drama no longer defines excitement. Calmness no longer feels empty. Consistency becomes a marker of value, safety, and genuine connection. Healthy love feels boring at first because it bypasses the old, familiar patterns your nervous system craves. It asks you to grow, integrate, and trust. It asks you to notice subtlety. It asks you to honor yourself as much as your partner. And when you learn to see this clearly, the word boring no longer applies. Instead, love becomes something quiet, steady, and profoundly life-changing.
If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe for more gentle reminders of your inner power.